Thank you for coming to meet me today. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
So tell me a little bit about yourself. How did you get into becoming an activist? Was that something you knew early on in your life that you were kind of destined to do?
My father, John Buddy Andrade, has been an activist for over 40 years, so it just was kind of embedded into me. But I also found my own way of doing things. You know, my dad does an array of different things. Myself, I have gravitated to a lot more of the grassroots kind of upbringing with young adults,
Yeah,
both male and female.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so
So now, how young were you? Can you remember going to some events that maybe your father was speaking at?
when I'm ever asked that question, because it comes up a lot, like, what were you ever a part of? I mean, we've always done things with United Way and just cookouts and fun days that we just do on our own, not with any companies or anything like that. But
Yeah,
we did some stuff with United Way when I was younger, with the mini grants programs and stuff like that.
yeah.
So.
Now, what are some of maybe the early on issues when you first started, becoming outspoken? What are some of those issues that you were kind of centered around?
One primarily would have been just the lack of extracurricular activities for the inner city youth here in New Bedford.
Yeah,
I mean, and you find that issue, I mean, in many other cities and towns. But here, I mean, you just have Denison Memorial, you have the Boys and Girls Club, and you have the Y. Um, but they don't have enough to facilitate an
yeah,
entire city. Community to community. Some of these kids are being able to access the resources there, but not everyone. We need more.
yeah,
And if it's not that, it's just you know little centers where the kids can go and get after school teaching, and just having that extra person, adult, to kind of help gauge where they're at and what they need to be
yeah,
doing.
yeah, yeah. So now, did you grow up in the city?
Yes, I was born and raised in the south end of New Bedford, Benrose projects.
Yeah,
And then when I was 14, we moved to United Front Homes, which is now called Temple Landing. And I finished my high school there.
yeah.
And
So now, how was it when you were growing up in those areas? Were they tough areas to grow up?
absolutely, Benrose was predominantly Hispanic at the time, where I grew up. I mean, we still had a lot of Cape Verdean families that lived there, and some Portuguese families. But I mean, the crime rate was ridiculous back in the early '80s. Um, Drugs were flooded the streets, and um, it was just tough as a kid. So you had to find outlets, and I mean, and then as opposed to now, we were always at the parks. We was at either Mott Street Park, Hazelwood Park, Ashley Park. We were always going to parks. We had those outdoor activities
Yeah,
kids don't do today.
yeah. So you were a lot more social back then, where now
Absolutely,
the younger generation, they're more social media focused.
yeah.
And so now, what about if someone asks you, say, Tyhon, what's one of your proudest accomplishments? As being a part of an activism, um, maybe experience or
It's a really good question, because they're all good outcomings. When even if you fall short, it's raising the awareness of certain issues. Energy efficiency. That's one of the things I was able to be on the pilot program for, getting the information out on the weatherization and insulating, and making homes more efficient.
yeah,
So low income families can save a little bit more money. Um, it was a really good project that I was a part of. And then another one, when I first started the ASAP program, the All Scholastic Athletic Program. We in one year put on 9 different events, between the South End and West End. And one of the events, we had the mayor, Mayor Lang at the time,
yeah,
come to our event at the Buttonwood Park Festival. We did a basketball tournament that had over almost 200 kids participate in, and we raised the awareness of, a lot of courts were being done throughout the city.
Yeah.
And this was a major court where people from all across Massachusetts, well, really the South Coast, would come to and utilize. And it just was run down. So we got the word out, and we got the pilot going on that, where they redid the courts, and our friends of Buttonwood, Richard Leary and company, they took the reins and got it done.
Wow, that's great. So now, what are some of the strategies that you've found to be successful when organizing others for a particular issue that you're a part of?
Well, it starts with passion. I think when other people want to participate, to volunteer, just to be a part of stuff, you just got to show them a sense of passion and have, giving them a piece of what you're doing, so they can have pride and be proud of what they're getting involved in. And also, like, when I talk to a lot of the young people or even older people that are, trying to reach out and raise awareness on certain issues, don't just raise the issue or the awareness on what you see, but also things you don't see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, do you think it helps when you're talking with people that they're actually from the area, the community?
Absolutely. I mean, you need to always, no matter what you are working on in any community, need to get that firsthand knowledge as to what's been going on, how long has it been going on, what are their resolutions to the problems.
Yeah. So now, right now, 2019, would you say that you're, satisfied the way your community is, or do you think there's things that, should be worked on a little bit?
It's kind of unfortunate because, there's always something, no one ever really sees eye to eye on all the topics. So, I mean, because we may have fixed something one way, doesn't mean it's amend for the other 30 people.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Now, what about, like, have you ever seen, like, certain issues where, maybe 10 years ago there was a big outcry for, things changed, and then slowly they got back to where they started, like, a cycle?
Yeah, it's politics. I mean, because again, I mean, you get Brian Gomes and a lot of these other guys who are career politicians. They fight for certain things, and I'm trying to think as I'm talking. I still want something in particular, but we may have voted on something that changes on how proceedings go in the schools and stuff of that nature.
Yeah.
And 10 years later, we're like, hey, maybe that wasn't the right idea. So it happens. It happens almost every day.
Yeah. So now being an activist, being outspoken in the community, have you ever felt like any particular issue that you've been, bringing up has ever brought, like, targeting towards you from other people in the community?
As of late, for the last 10 years, I've worked with the SSYI program, the Safe and Successful Youth Initiative.
Yeah.
And that is a gang prevention program. It's also tied in with the Shannon program. Both programs are aimed at working with inner city youth. That for the Shannon program is a redirective program to try to prevent them from getting involved in gang life and street activity. Whereas the SSYI program, you're dealing with the heavy hitters, the kids that are actually out there selling drugs, gang banging, doing stuff of that nature.
Yeah.
So I started out as a volunteer, fell into more of the role as the coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
And in the last 2 years doing the coordinating, we prevented a lot of violence. We dealt with one murder, and our first response was impeccable. We worked highly with the gang unit and the police department, and the actual real first responders with the EMTs, and we did a really good job. The fallback from that is we did a really good job, and everybody else was expecting us to fail.
Wow.
And everybody else, I'm talking about other agencies and a couple other people that thought that we weren't fit to do this type of stuff. Now, I was born and raised in this city. I've been around many blocks and I've been up a few alleys. And when you have those experiences, both on the street, in the classroom, going to college, you have the knowledge, the common knowledge to know how to deal with adverse situations such as those. And this isn't a knock to anybody because we got the knock. Is more like, hey, if you have a better way, let's talk about it. Don't chop the knees out from somebody when we're all trying to drive for the same thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, people have talked ill about what we have accomplished, but right now, both programs have received at least $50,000 or up to $100,000 more, but they are reaping the benefits.
Yeah. Now, have you ever thought, like, I hear this, I hear that, maybe I just won't be outspoken anymore, maybe I'll leave the activism to someone else? Have those thoughts ever come across your mind, or?
Never.
No.
I am cautious as to what I say, because one day you're butting heads with an agency, the next day you guys find common ground on something else. Yeah. Again, it's not a personal thing when you're dealing with social issues and other people. It's you're dealing with other people's lives, their livelihood, and trying to make a betterment for your community, not for yourself. It's selflessness.
Yeah. So now, where your father's really well known in the area, do you feel like sometimes people think that you have the same mindset as him, and they might come across and not saying that they already have their minds made up about you as an individual? How do you deal with those situations?
That's a really great question, because I deal with it all the time. I'm not as outspoken as my father. He is driven because he has seen a lot over 40 years, and a lot of negativity has come that way, where it's race issues, it's sexism, it's a number of different things where it doesn't take a soft-spoken person to make action happen. And he has definitely ruffled feathers over 4 decades of doing what he's had to do, but somebody had to do it, or people lose out, because and politicians don't always put out the right information. There's training programs that go on throughout the state that never reach the doorsteps of the people in our communities because they just don't put out the information. It's always a number of things, and so people look at me as, oh, that's Buddy's son. He must be just like Buddy, and I am like Buddy in a sense, because I want to help other people and tackle issues, but I'm not willing to fight with you the way he does. Not because I don't want to, because I have, and I will if I have to, but it's more for me finding common ground. Like, we can agree to disagree, but let's just do the right thing for the people that we are trying to serve.
Yeah. Now, what would you say? Would you say to an individual that is maybe thinking about, taking on an activism role in their own community? What would you say to them? Maybe some pointers on some things, that they should try to do. Maybe some things to stay away from.
You never know until you actually rolling into the situation. So I say, get a good group of people you can trust, and go full head of steam with everybody on the same page. Because again, the most sticky situations are the racism that still exists, and and the prejudiceness and certain things that people just don't want to speak upon. And if you're willing to go ahead and put your foot forward and your face in the limelight and tackle those issues, just make sure you dot your I's, cross your T's, cover your bases, and have a really good team to work with.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen, thank you so much for taking your time out today. Talk to us a little bit about, activism, your personal experience, and, hopefully we can continue to see you in the community doing what you do.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.